This fossil whale is from rocks that have been dated about 34 to 35 million years. That's about halfway back to the age of the dinosaurs. It was quite early on in the history of whales. The fossil is one of the oldest in the lineage of baleen whales. The baleen whales are living whales and they are big filter feeders. We know that they came from ancient ancestors long ago, beyond 40 million years, but the record of those ancestors is very fragmentary. It was from Antarctica, astonishing. It was found in two goes, actually. One fragment was found in the mid-1970s by an American geologist who took it back to the States, and people were intrigued by that. I went to Seymour Island on Antarctica with that paleontologist, and he told me he found it over there. So I went and looked, and I found nothing, and I kept hunting for fossils, which was my job at the time. Kept hunting for fossils, and one day I was working out on the east side of the island, opposite from where I normally camped, and the weather started to pack up, and I got a bit concerned about that. I wondered if there was going to be a whiteout, and so I took a different track back to the camp, and as I walked up a gully towards the top of the island, I started seeing fragmented bone, and then I found a chunk of rock with a couple of teeth in it, and I thought, this is a big whale, and it was. We collected every fragment that we could find of that specimen, maybe a ton of blocks of rock and bone, and put them together and stripped the rock away off the outside and revealed the bone on the inside. So we've ended up with a three-dimensional specimen which we can use to tell the story of the origin of the baleen whales. Baleen whales are still living all around the earth. They're living in waters often eaten. We see right whales and minke whales cruising past, and humpback whales. These are the modern baleen whales, and this is very close to their ancestry. The original fragment of this individual whale, the very same animal, is curated in the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. So we found the rest of the specimen and had prepared it out and now described it. And it's only right that this specimen goes in its entirety back to Washington, D.C. Yeah, it's really thrilling in a way for those of us who work on this sort of thing. The specimen turned out to be much more revealing than I had ever expected, and we can tell some good stories about the origins of baleen whales from this very animal. Well, when we were first working on this specimen, it had structures which suggested it might have had a filter feeding apparatus, the big baleen plates that hang from the roof of modern whales. But on close inspection, the pattern of bone features just wasn't quite right, and so we've decided that this animal was probably a suction feeder. It opened its mouth and took in large volumes of prey and squirted water out again, so retaining the food in the mouth. This is a little bit different from filter feeding, from sieving directly from the water. It'll be a bit contentious. I know some people will think, well, maybe it truly was a filter feeder and not a suction feeder. So we've made a case, and we'll see how it's received.